this, and we'll go to more questions. We got a lot of questions here, and a lot of really good ones tonight. Let's say there are 3 players on the board, okay? You have your pick of these 3, okay? One is Bijan. Okay, 4. Bijan, Brian Branch, Jalen Carter, or Christian Gonzalez. One of those 4, you have to pick one. Who is Josh Davis taking right now? Straight up.
Gosh.
Who are you taking?
That's such a tough question.
Answer in the chat right now, 2 people. Which of those 4 would you take?
Honestly, if you're giving me between those 4, I'm going to take Bijan.
Wow.
I know that's crazy, but to me, Jalen Carter's not worth the risk. What we know, the potential lack. If you ever like partially question someone's work ethic, to me, it's not worth it, because it's like you know what show you have to put on at the combine, pre-combine, in your pro day. Like, that's a given. So if you have questions there, Jalen, I'm out of. Jalen Carter, I way too many questions. Okay. The Christian Gonzalez, I love. I think he's going to be phenomenal. But then you have to ask yourself the question at 10, really in the first round total, but certainly at the 10th pick in the first round, you're drafting a guy that needs to be a day 1 starter for sure, without question. And as much as I love Christian Gonzalez, you did just solidify your defensive backs, or at least your cornerbacks, with Slay and Bradbury. I don't think Christian Gonzalez is coming in and going to be like, hey, I'm a full-time starter. You could potentially try to make something work with, moving someone to a safety that I've heard rumors of, like, oh, hey, what if we did that? But that's kind of ridiculous, because Slay is not a tackling guy and Bradbury's too good of a corner. So you're not going to do that. So it solidifies you more long-term. But I think you can look at it and say, you know what, 2024 is really the draft to solidify depth and long-term draft picks and things like that. So I think in this draft, if you're giving me those 4 options, and I know you mentioned Branch, but it's to me, it's too early to draft safety. Wait till 30. I know Branch may not be available, but there's other options. So you give me the option between those 4. Yeah, sign me up. Let's go, Bijan.
We're starting to hop on the Bijan hype train here. We're calling this the Bijan link live or whatever it is.
It's left the building.
Andrea 4, 10 entries into the giveaway. Obviously, our jersey giveaway here. So 10, mark her down. I think she might already be on there. Is she? Or is this her first 10?
She is. Yep. So we got 15 entries now.
15 entries for Andrea 4. She wants a Bijan Robinson jersey, potentially. Boy, everyone's going to be really sad if it's, was it Stronsky, the offensive lineman, whatever his name is?
Yeah.
We'll get you. Hey, if they get Bijan with the second first-round draft pick or someone else, fine. We'll let you have your pick.
Let you select out of the 2 that
if it's a tackle at 10 and someone cool at 30, we'll let you get somebody cool. We're not going to be like, unless you want the tackle, it's your choice. Okay. So congratulations, Andrea. You got 10 entries. Donatello Dragon, I mean, just grinding away 2 at a time here.
2 more.
Jalen Hurts, Bijan Robinson, and Kenny G powerhouse. 2 more for Andre. Although I didn't read her comment. No better offense than ours. But that right now you can make that argument. But you throw Bijan on there, and it's like, I mean, who's better?
Without a doubt. Yeah. Honestly, there's nowhere even close.
And wouldn't it be fun? Again, I don't think they're going to take Bijan at 10, but a lot of people don't like the Eagles. A lot of people love Bijan Robinson. It'd be very fun to watch people have to be like, oh, the Eagles made a really good move.
That's true. Think about it. You've got a lot of UT fans who are Cowboys fans.
Yes.
They've got to have the idea of, like, gosh, do I root for him? Do I root against him? Like, that's my alma mater. Yep. That's a good situation to be in.
It did feel like whenever Zeke was a Cowboy, it was like, darn, like Zeke's a baller. He just, won a natty. And he was the best player on that team, and then he was a Cowboy, and you're like, well, I got to hate this guy for the next 10 years. So, again, 2 for Donatello Dragon, Jalen Hurts, Bijan Robinson, Kenny G, powerhouse. That'd be interesting. Although the Rashad Penny thing tells me that it'd be a crowded backfield. How many carries does Rashad Penny get if they have Bijan Robinson? Not a lot.
4, 3 a game?
Yeah, maybe. Not a lot.
A game till he gets injured. Hopefully not, but
we appreciate you guys entering into the jersey giveaway. I had said on Sunday's show, we did the C.J. Gardner-Johnson live one, I'll shave my mustache for $100 super chat, but I'm hoping no one does that because I want to keep it. But I'll go get the stuff and I'll do it live on the show. If someone does straight 100, I'll do it, but I don't want to do it. My girlfriend would be very happy, but I don't want to do it.
I know someone who would be very happy for that.
She's not going to do it. What do you guys think of the Eagles' most valuable trade assets? Do they have a valuable trade asset right now?
Not really. I mean,
no,
you're kind of hurting for the depth as it is. You can't afford to lose anybody. You're not really looking and saying, hey, anybody want this particular guy? So if you want to say assets just out of anything, maybe your draft picks, but that's for next year. You're not trading any this year. So in terms of a player, though, no, I don't think you could afford to lose anybody.
Paul Robinson says, I want Bijan so I can have a Kelly Green jersey with my last name on it. That would be sick.
That'd be very absolutely sick. Those Kelly Green jerseys are dynamite. I cannot.
We'll probably
wait.
give one of those away at some point after the draft when they make them official during like the season or whatever. I think.
Yeah, I think so. Like right before the season opener, maybe we got to mark that down.
We could. Write that one down. That's pretty good. Greg Cosell said that all top DN prospects apart from Tyree Wilson are only good prospects, whereas Tyree is great. Wilson gets no love from Eagle fans because no one thinks he's going to be there at 10. That's the problem. If I was to enter Tyree Wilson into the question I asked Josh a couple minutes ago, you would take Tyree Wilson. Yep. But he might be, I mean, it's going to be, what's going to be interesting is this. CJ Stroud had his pro day today, and I wanted to talk about this. He looked great, but every quarterback looks good at pro days. You covered pro days. I've covered pro days. They all look good. No-name quarterbacks look good at pro days. It's all scripted. But there was also, I don't know if you saw this, Josh, on Twitter, of Josh McCown, who's the OC in Carolina. He's dapping up CJ and said something about, like, when you get to Carolina, we'll get you something. They're talking about basketball courts or something like that. Let's just say Stroud goes 1, right? Twitter thinks Stroud's going 1 based on that, okay? Stroud 1, Bryce Young 2. Texans are not going to, pull the trigger on Richardson. They're going to go safe, and the smart thing to do would be to go ahead and take Bryce Young. Then Richardson at 3. The Cardinals move back. Somebody comes up for Richardson, right? So there's 1, 2, 3. Then you have a very interesting scenario where you have the Colts, maybe still the Cardinals who move back a little bit. And obviously you're going to have the Alabama pass rusher, Will Anderson, go. So you kind of have this situation where Anderson goes 5. Maybe someone takes a swing at a corner at 6. Then you have still 3 more picks to get to for Tyree Wilson to have to drop down. And that's why I think most Eagle fans aren't talking about him, because they don't think he's going to be there. But NZ Philly fan, we all agree he's a monster, and insert him on this pass rush rotation. Is BG even going to play? Josh, what, even going to get snaps? Because you'd be playing Wilson and Reddick like 24/7.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a good problem to have.
It's a good problem to have for sure. Yeah. And I would, like I say, sign me up for that if he's available. And I think the only way he becomes available is like what we've mentioned. Will Levis has to be picked in the top 10. He has to be picked ahead. Some team has to say, oh gosh, there's a run on quarterbacks. We need to just go grab our guy now. But I can't see that really happening from the mock drafts and all the news that we've heard. I would think he's going to be after 10. And so then, you have to ask yourself the question, is Tyree Wilson going to be available? I know that Devin Witherspoon in a couple of mock drafts has recently been mocked to be taken, I think 6th or 7th. But again, there's still those couple picks that you're wondering, okay, is he actually going to be available? I don't see there's any way possible.
You have to have a run on corners as well, right? So if 1 is quarterback, 2 is quarterback, 3 is, let's say it's Anderson, and 4 is quarterback, right? And maybe it's Colts move up and someone else comes up, like the Lions or the Raiders or whatever. Let's say first 4 first 3 are quarterbacks, plus you get, Will Anderson, right? That means someone here has to get a corner, right? Seattle has to go tackle or corner. The Lions have to go tackle or corner, or I don't know what else has to be one of those two. You'd have to have a run on tackles and corners here, and I just don't see that happening. The Falcons aren't going to pass on Tyree Wilson. There's not a chance, unless this is Baltimore, because they went ahead and signed Lamar Jackson. Maybe Baltimore goes for a corner because they need one more than, I would say, a pass rusher at this point. But there's a very big gap from 5 to 10 where Tyree Wilson is going to go. And that's why, again, we just don't talk about him that much, because this is a guy who's, everyone's saying, is an absolute freak and is going to be a monster out there. And freaks that are, nicknamed monsters don't go outside of the top 7.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the potential, like you said, is through the roof for Tyree Wilson, but I don't see a world where he's available. If he is, it makes my choice very easy. You can forget the other 4 that you mentioned to me. I'm going to take him all day.
Here's people answering when I asked them which of the 4 would they take. I got a Carter, I got a Gonzalez, a Carter, Bijan, Gonzalez, Bijan, Carter. I'm a Bijan truther, but it's Carter, Robinson. Yeah, see, it's mixed. Thomas, Josh, if you don't get Robinson, what do you think Gibbs? What do you think Gibbs will last round 2? Very interesting where Jahmyr Gibbs goes, right? Because there are obviously some running back needy teams that are sitting around here. Dallas is definitely one of them. You can make that argument. Obviously, we sit right here. Baltimore could always use another running back. Dalvin Cook's not getting any younger, but I don't think they'd spend 24, the Vikings, on him. But there are some running back needy teams. Seattle, talking about trying to hype up that franchise a little bit. Bijan Robinson makes some sense. The Bucks, you want to try to help out Kyle Trask? He makes some sense there. Like, there are places for Jahmyr Gibbs to kind of plug and play here. I think if he fell to 30 and you were able to get, Jalen Carter and Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs, we'd all be fine with it. But I don't know if he's getting to 30, let alone round 2. That would be my guess.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think it depends on obviously what's available and which teams have selected. So I think really what will establish I guess how long Jahmyr Gibbs lasts is how quickly Bijan goes. Because if Bijan goes super fast, then all of a sudden it's like, oh,
yes.
wait a minute, you got to get your running back. So it's going to dictate the market, I think, where Bijan goes. But I would be surprised too if he lasts maybe 30. I've seen a couple situations where he's available at that point, or even very early second round. But I think that's a steal if he lasts that long or even goes past that point. So I agree with you. I think it's unlikely, but it's going to be dictated much like, I mean, let's face it. This is a lot of times like a fantasy football draft. So as soon as the first team goes out and selects, it never fails, but everybody's going, picking their, running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks. As soon as the first defense goes off the board, it's weird, but then all of a sudden you see the run on defense. It's like, wait a second, I missed the boat. So it's the same way. Once you get the position taken, then you're like, oh, well, now Jahmyr Gibbs is maybe going to get picked a little bit earlier.
Luis just said, I think at 10 they go Van Ness due to Cox leaving next year. There's Lucas Van Ness is Iowa, right? I'm trying to remember where he's coming from. Iowa is another one of those pass rushers. Yeah, right, exactly. There's some interesting questions around him in terms of a pass rusher inside the top 10, but teams need pass rushers. And so Atlanta, again, sitting there at 8, could be an interesting place if Wilson goes. But Van Ness is another name not a lot of Eagle fans are talking about, who is defensive line, and Eagles love defensive line. Josh is a smart man, says Jonathan Harvey, but that was 10 minutes ago, so I don't remember what you were talking about.
I think it's just all in general.
All in general. I like that too. Why is no one talking about Nolan Smith at 10? It's completely possible. It is. My problem with Nolan Smith is big combine, right? I like big play, big on the field guys, and he wasn't terrible, but his combine numbers would make you think he was clearly seen as the best pass rusher in college football last year, and no one was talking about him as the best. He wasn't the best guy in the defensive line because they had Jalen Carter. So,
And there's a size question. Don't get me wrong. I love the idea of Nolan Smith at the right price and the right position, but I think that you've already got a guy like a Hassan Reddick. I think that you're looking to solidify it with probably a defensive lineman that's a little bit different, maybe a stronger, more physical, or even solidifying it like a Jalen Carter if he falls, if Howie decides to go that route. Again, that's not really my preference, but I don't know. It doesn't usually work out super well if you have two really quick, speedy, but slight ends, because then all of a sudden you get schemed a lot on run blocking situations and you give up a lot of yards. So I don't know if that would be the right scheme fit, especially the fact that we already have Hassan Reddick.
Nolan Smith feels like a middle of the first round talent. I think that's where he really needs to go. 15, 17, that's where I would think Nolan would go. But you know,
and maybe you trade back. You possibly do that. Trade back from 10, get him there. Also pick up another pick while you're at it. So that could be a potential. Yeah.